At first glance, the rise of this K-pop project looks almost too clean, too perfectly timed to be real. A brand new name enters the industry and, within months, begins collecting trophies that most idols spend years chasing. Awards arrive faster than public consensus, and with that speed comes the most predictable accusation in K-pop history. Bought awards, bought influence, bought legitimacy. It's the easiest story to sell because it offers a clear villain without asking uncomfortable questions about how the industry actually works. But once you slow down and look past the surface outrage, the truth becomes far less dramatic and far more disturbing. Power in K-pop rarely moves through obvious corruption. It doesn't need secret payments or illegal deals. It moves quietly, through access, recognition, and familiarity. It looks like executives already knowing your name before introductions are made. It feels like broadcasters being comfortable before you ever step on stage. When fans argue that an idol didn't literally buy awards, they're probably right. But when others point out that her background, image, and perceived status open doors automatically, that's where the real tension lives. Nepotism in K-pop isn't loud or sloppy. It's polished, invisible, and efficient. The system doesn't need to be pushed when it already wants to cooperate. Assumptions form in your favor before proof is demanded. A powerful association functions like an unspoken resume, signaling safety to award committees, stability to sponsors, and low risk to networks. No one needs to say it out loud, but everyone behaves as if the outcome is already decided. This is how fast-tracking really happens, not through scandal, but through convenience. And even when success is eventually earned through effort and performance, the doubt never disappears, the wins come early, but suspicion follows forever. If you want to understand how influence truly operates behind the K-pop spotlight, follow the channel, subscribe, and keep watching because this story is only getting more complicated from here. What pushes this situation from quiet discomfort into open controversy isn't just the speed of success, but how K-pop fans have been trained to read awards as moral judgments rather than calculated business decisions. In this industry, trophies are framed as proof of survival, years of dominance, cultural saturation so deep that the music becomes impossible to escape. Awards are supposed to arrive at the end of a long, visible journey, not at the beginning. So, when a rookie project starts collecting top-tier recognition before the wider audience can even agree on its impact, something feels fundamentally wrong. That discomfort doesn't automatically point to corruption. It points to timing. Historically, the biggest wins followed moments when songs reshaped the sound of the year, when groups dominated charts, trends, and public conversation so completely that debate stopped. The outcome felt inevitable. The industry didn't have to convince anyone because the evidence was everywhere. Popularity and prestige moved in sync. But when prestige arrives before cultural consensus, the system exposes its shortcuts. Award shows are not neutral judges of art. They are risk management machines built to protect sponsors, secure ratings, and sell clean narratives. A project surrounded by influence, connections, and media-friendly optics becomes a safer investment than one still fighting for clarity. Not because the latter lacks talent, but because uncertainty makes gatekeepers nervous. This is where structural bias quietly replaces fairness without announcing itself. The system doesn't need malicious intent to skew outcomes. It simply rewards proximity to power. Once that pattern is set, it becomes permanent. Every future achievement is filtered through doubt. Even genuine growth is dismissed as prepackaged success. Early privilege doesn't just accelerate a career, it stains it. And that's how a group can keep winning while steadily losing credibility in the court of public perception. As the debate over legitimacy drags on, the tension refuses to stay confined to award statistics or industry mechanics. It turns inward, and the idols themselves become the battlefield. At this stage, success alone is no longer the problem. Every movement is dissected. Every facial expression is slowed down, cropped, and replayed. Routine moments at crowded award shows are no longer neutral events, they are reframed as moral trials, especially once the label of undeserving has already taken root. Etiquette becomes the sharpest weapon in these conflicts. Bowing, hierarchy, and seniority complex cultural practices shaped by context are flattened into rigid rules by fans who only understand them through viral clips and selective translations. A brief nod is repackaged as arrogance. A polite bow becomes disrespect because it wasn't deep enough, long enough, or dramatic enough. Context evaporates the moment competition enters the room. What's quietly ignored is that many idols being defended behave the same way in similar situations, but consistency collapses when bias takes control. This isn't about cultural respect, it's about selective enforcement. Fans perform expertise when it supports their argument, then abandon those same standards the moment their favorite does the bare minimum. The targets follow a familiar pattern. Young idols who rise too quickly, visible enough to threaten existing hierarchies, popular enough to provoke resentment, exposed enough to be punished without consequence. Neutral expressions are twisted into proof of bad attitude. Ordinary interactions are transformed into evidence of flawed character. What this obsession exposes is how quickly fandom morality erodes under pressure. Respect stops being about intent and becomes a loyalty test. The higher an idol climbs, the harsher the scrutiny becomes. Not because they've done something wrong, but because visibility invites projection. The industry rewards power quietly. Fans punish it loudly, using culture as camouflage. The conversation shifts the moment numbers enter the equation, because nothing ignites K-pop fan wars faster than views. Music videos accumulate massive counts overnight, and almost immediately, accusations of manipulation flood social media. Bought views becomes the default insult, delivered with absolute certainty by people who rarely understand how digital promotion actually works. The accusation sounds explosive, but it only holds power if you pretend K-pop exists outside of modern marketing systems. The uncomfortable reality is that platforms like YouTube were never neutral arenas. They are advertising ecosystems designed to reward visibility, not purity. Paid promotion, algorithmic amplification, and organic fandom streaming all blend into a single public number that fans treat as proof of authenticity. When a company runs ads, those views still count. Not as fraud, not as cheating, as part of the system itself. Large budgets don't operate in secrecy. They function openly, normalized by the platform and quietly accepted across the industry. This is where denial turns into fantasy. Fans want numbers to represent devotion. They want views to equal love, loyalty, and cultural domination. But views measure distribution, not emotional attachment. Some come from dedicated fans, replaying obsessively. Others come from casual viewers encountering an ad and scrolling past. Many are the result of calculated exposure designed to make a project feel unavoidable. None of this is rare, and none of it is illegal. The real discomfort comes from realizing how easily perception can be engineered, how momentum can be manufactured, and how willingly fandoms participate in inflating the illusion of dominance while insisting it appeared organically. By the time these arguments peak, the question is no longer whether the numbers are real. It's whether authenticity ever stood a chance in a system designed to sell scale above all else. By the time all these arguments collide, something far more unsettling becomes impossible to ignore. The line between fans, critics, and the online communities Western audiences claim to despise starts to dissolve. The same behaviors once blamed on toxic netizens quietly resurface in English-speaking spaces, repackaged with different language but identical intent. The framing changes, the cruelty doesn't. Outrage simply learns a new accent. When Korean online communities criticize an idol that international fans already love, the response is immediate and defensive. The culture is labeled harsh. The standards are called brutal. Mental health becomes the shield, and the narrative centers on protecting idols from an unforgiving system. But the moment those same communities turn their attention toward an idol fans have decided is expendable, everything flips. Suddenly, those opinions are treated as objective truth. Their words gain authority, their attacks are reframed as cultural insight rather than harassment. This isn't respect for Korean culture, it's convenience. Culture becomes a tool, pulled out only when it validates an existing bias. Millions of individual voices are flattened into a single opinion because it simplifies judgment. Korea hates her becomes justification. Korea supports my favorite becomes proof. The messy reality that online opinion is fragmented, emotional, and constantly shifting gets erased entirely. What's most disturbing is how openly punishment turns into entertainment. Public shaming becomes content. Accountability becomes performance. Fans dissect humiliation in real time while insisting they're just analyzing the industry. They hide behind translations, viral clips, and anonymous posts, distancing themselves from the damage by blaming a system they're actively recreating. That's the darkest irony of all. The pressure fans claim destroys idols didn't disappear, it multiplied. K-pop's most ruthless dynamics didn't stay contained within Korea. They were exported, amplified, and normalized on a global scale, often with even less accountability than before. Influence gets rewarded quietly, resentment gets weaponized loudly, and idols are left absorbing the fallout from narratives they never controlled. If you want more unfiltered breakdowns of K-pop scandals, power struggles, fandom wars, and the uncomfortable truths hidden beneath the glamour, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for what comes next. Because in K-pop, the spotlight never tells the whole story, and this conversation is far from over.